kindergarten. So this week we are talking about coins, and we're talking about what they look like, what they're called, and how to tell them apart from each other. So the first thing I want to tell you about is the sides of a coin. Okay, so every coin has two sides, right? And we have a name for those sides, and we're gonna and you have to know them so that when I tell you what they look like on each individual coin, you're familiar with those terms. So on a coin, we have a side that's called heads and a side that's called tails. And you might have heard that before because people will flip a coin to make a decision. So I might be like, I can't decide if I should have a banana or an apple. Like, I just can't decide. I'm gonna flip a coin. Heads, banana, tails, apple. Tails, I'm having an apple. You see, so people use coins to do that, to make different kinds of decisions. In football, they use a coin to decide who gets to choose if they want the ball first or not. All kinds of things like that. So anyway, they have a head side and a tail side, and we're gonna look at what's on each of those sides so that you can tell which coin is which, okay? Now, our coins are specific to where we live, to the country that we live in, to the United States. Coins are all specific to a country, or in Europe, they're specific to a couple countries all put together. So we have our United States coins, and what I mean when I say that is, if you go to Mexico, you're not gonna have a quarter that looks like this, that's worth the same amount. It's different everywhere you go. And so one thing that countries do with their money is they have something that means something to that country on their money, on their coins. So on our coins, on all of the coins, there's a different former president, not the current United States president, but people that were the president on all of the coins. And then on the backs, they have different American symbols. On the tail side, I should say, they have different American symbols. So we can look at those. Now, you're probably pretty familiar with change, and you might even have some laying around. If you do, and you know that you have some in a piggy bank or something, go ahead and grab it so that you can be looking at these and touching them while I'm explaining it to you. Okay, so go grab them. I'm gonna wait. No, just pause me. Okay, you got them? Okay, cool. So we're gonna start with the one that's worth the most and go to the one that's worth the least. And when I say that, I mean they each stand for a different amount of money, right? So let me start by saying a quarter's not actually the coin that is worth the most money, because there are coins that are worth $1 and coins that are worth 50 cents, but they're not very common. You don't see them very often. But a quarter you see all the time. They're everywhere, and they are worth 25 cents. So I'm gonna look first at the head of the quarter, okay? The head side, and that is a person that you are pretty familiar with because we had a birthday party for him in February, if you remember. That is George Washington, and we know that he was the first president of the United States. Now, if you turn your quarter over, you're gonna see, well, you could see a lot of different things, because the tail side of the quarter has a lot of different pictures. Now, for a long, long time, it was always an eagle, which is our one of our national symbols. And you'll see an eagle on the top of American flags. You'll see an eagle associated with the United States all the time. So for a long time, it was an eagle on the tail side of the quarter. But then they started doing this really cool thing and putting different states, a picture for each different state, on the backs of quarters. And then, so then all the quarters look different on the tail side. So when you look at the tail side of the quarter, you might have an eagle, but you might have a picture that's specific to one of the 50 states. If you have the Texas one, you're going to see the shape of Texas. and a star because we're the Lone Star State. So that's pretty cool. Another thing about the quarter is you'll notice that it's the biggest in size of these other ones. It's silver in color, and I want you to take it and rub your finger around the outside of it. And you'll notice that it's bumpy, okay? That's important because it's really similar in size to another coin, and so one's bumpy and one's not, but the quarter's bumpy. Okay, so that one's 25 cents. A dime is worth 10 cents, but it's actually the smallest coin, but it's not worth the least amount. So a dime, it's pretty small. On the head is Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who was a president. You might also hear him called FDR. And if you turn to the tails, there is a torch. It is the smallest, and this one is bumpy around the outside also. You'll see that it has ridges. A nickel is bigger than a dime and bigger than a penny, but slightly smaller than a quarter. Now, if you have a nickel and a quarter in your hand, it would be kind of hard to tell them apart really, really quickly if you were just grabbing change, except that it's smooth on the outside. So that is something that makes it different than a quarter, and you can tell really easily. On the head side is Thomas Jefferson, who was a president, and he also wrote our Declaration of Independence. And on the tail side is Monticello, which is Thomas Jefferson's home, and so it became a significant place in the United States. All right, and the nickel is worth 5 cents. And then finally, I have the penny. The penny looks way different than the other coins because it is copper, which it's brown. So it's a copper brown color, and it's only worth 1 cent. So it takes 100 of these to make $1. Now, it has on it another person that you're probably familiar with because we did learn about him. That is Abraham Lincoln. And then on the tail side, you're gonna see one of two things. So on this one that's in my picture here, I have the Lincoln Memorial, which is a building that's in Washington, D.C. that has a memorial. It has a statue of Abraham Lincoln for people to go look at and remember him and think about all the things he's done. But you might see a shield that says, that has the 1 cent on it. So they could look at two different ways also. All right, so those are our United States coins. And this week I want you looking at them and doing some rubbings of them. I'm gonna post a video on how to do a rubbing of a coin, and then returning them to their owners. Don't pocket somebody else's change, y'all, right? Anyway, I miss you guys, and I hope you're doing really well.